Hello and welcome to this special series of episodes called 29 Days of Magic. During Black History Month, the month of February, I'll be interviewing a Black woman a day who's from business and entrepreneurship. You name it, I'm going to have a chat with her. The idea for this is to show off the amazingness of Black women throughout various industries. I hope you take a listen, like, share, review, and be inspired by these incredible stories. Take a listen. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Munoz, CEO of the Cultural Communications Agency, D-Flash. Each week, I bring a different person who's doing game-changing work in business, entrepreneurship, and this episode is no different. This is all part of my really incredible series, 29 Days of Magic, where I interview a Black woman a day. And so I'm super excited to have Alysha M. Campbell, who's the founder of CultureShift HR, going to talk about her journey, what she's up to today, and what she's on to next. It's going to be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Alysha.
Hey, Laura, how are you?
Oh, you know, freezing in New York City like you.
Oh, of course. That's a given.
I saw that it was 16 degrees outside. I'm like,
I know.
what? What's going on? Well, you know what? This will make people stay inside, which will hopefully get our numbers down. So I'm not going to complain.
Yeah.
So even though we're freezing, the podcast stays the same. So the first question stays the same. So Alysha, what was your first job?
Oh, great question. So my first job, I actually was a sales rep for a candy bar company, and I went door to door selling chocolate covered almonds during the summer. That was my first job.
Wow, door to door.
Door to door.
Oh, did you have doors slam in your face during that time? Because I feel like people are mean.
Well, it's funny because like at that age, I was probably like about 12, 13 years old. So I was still in the cute phase, you know, little girl cute. So, you know, a little girl comes knocking on your door and I'm only 5 foot. So by then I was probably only 3 1/4. So I didn't have my growth spurt yet. So I was still pretty tiny. So me with red hair and freckles and braids to boot. I got the door open most of the time. And I think that really helped me in kind of landing a couple of those key sales, especially in the dead heat of summer. But it did teach me resiliency. I kept knocking those doors until I got the box of chocolates sold. And really, that was kind of my motivation because I couldn't go home until it was. So I had to get the work done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. But you learned a lot of really good lessons that probably came in really handy along the way, especially right now in your career.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for me, the biggest takeaway from that experience, and that's kind of carried and been a thread through my career, is just the resiliency and the determination. Like I really try to not let anything get in my way. I don't see anything as something as a permanent kind of roadblock. Like if I can go around it, under it, over it, I will get through whatever kind of comes in between me and my end goal. So that's been something that's been definitely a steady force in my career.
Awesome. So how do we go from knocking on doors and getting them slammed in your face-ish
Yes.
to us having a conversation right now? What was that journey like?
Yeah, I'm a part of the Tony group on Facebook, and I was just doing a quick Facebook scroll and saw this incredible post, you looking for women of color for the 29 Days of Magic. And I was like, I want to be on this podcast. I want to share my story, and I want to be able to share to other women of color, no matter where you are in your career or just in your own journey of life, that you are absolutely incredible and can do absolutely anything you put your mind to. And the only reason I can say that so confidently is because I did it myself. And if I can do it, been through what I've been through personally and the different obstacles that I've overcome, anybody can do it.
Awesome. So
yeah,
what was some of those obstacles along the way to get to where you are?
Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I'm trying, where do I start? I feel like there were so many, but I think for me, the biggest one that I had to overcome was probably later on in my 20s, where I really had to understand who I was. And I'm the type of person that you're probably very familiar with the Strength Finders assessment. And my top number one strength is achiever. So I'm constantly needing to have a goal, killing it, now on to the next. And I was so focused on just goals that I didn't really stop to ask myself, what does really Alysha want? I was doing what I thought I had to do to get to a place where I thought I had to be. And for me, coming from a background where I didn't have a very stable upbringing, For me, stability was everything. So like at a very young age, I realized I want to get a full-time job. I want to make a certain amount of money. I want to have a house. I want to like not be in want of anything. And that's just that's whatever path I need to get to that endpoint. I'm just going to do it. And so I, high school to university to working summers and right out of school, it was just like, what is it that I never have to be in lack of anything? And it wasn't because I was trying to attain a certain amount of wealth or anything from that nature. It was, I was so terribly afraid of having nothing, because that was what my childhood and upbringing was, having nothing and always being in a mode of survival where I didn't know my next day from another day. And when you're in that mode of survival for probably at that point 20 plus years of my life, 25 years of my life, you're in a mode of like, I just got to make it to the next day. You really don't put yourself in a state of kind of calm and peace where you can start to think, what is it that you want? What is it that you're striving for? What are your dreams? What is your motivations? Because you're just thinking about, I got to get to the next day, or I got to get to the next, outcome of this. So as I started to actually kind of get into my own groove as an adult, and I actually started to ask myself those questions, I was terrified because I didn't know the answers. And it's scary because you're trying to, you're 25 years old, you're really trying to get into your groove of becoming an adult and create that identity. And when you can't name that identity and when you don't know what that looks like, it's terrifying, because it's like, well, what am I? I don't want to be my job. I don't want to be just the work that I do. Like, I'm a human being. Like, what is it? What's my purpose? And I promised myself that by the time I was 28 years old, I was not going to go into my 28th birthday not knowing that answer. So I spent 2 years. Yeah, I spent 2 years just being alone, mentally, physically, and emotionally, just getting to be in tune with myself, being in tune with my voice, being in tune with what is it that I am here to do? What is it that I love, hate, can tolerate, can move mountains for, can, support someone with? Like, I asked myself all these tough questions. And I tell you, Laura, it was the most frustrating, the most sad, the most depressing, the most angering, but the most incredible journey of self-discovery that I have ever been on. And I encourage anybody that's listening that if you are at that state where you don't know your left from your right, take that time to really tune in with yourself, because the answers are in you. You were born with those answers. Like, it's cultivated in every single fiber of who you are. And if you take that time to really just let it start to unfold and grow and just start to take over your being, it is absolutely beautiful. And I came out of that journey, Laura, with just a confidence that I've been striving for, that I knew that I could have, but I didn't know how to get. And then I finally was able to attain it, and I've never lost it since. It's like, I know who I am. I know where I'm going. You can't tell me one thing about myself that I don't already know. And that type of just that gumption, that gut feeling is so powerful that literally nothing can get in your way once you have it.
Wow, that's incredible. So I mean, after that, to do the deep work on yourself, like before you're 30, is pretty impressive, because I know I feel like I've done that, I don't know, in the last 2 years in my late 30s. So it took a while for me. So once you came out of that, did that help you to figure out, okay, work-wise, I'm going to do X? Or you're like, I don't even know?
Well, no, I was a little bit of both. I knew that I wanted to start my own business, and I didn't know in what area. Like, at that point, I was about 5 to 6 years in my HR career. I loved really focusing on people. Having people at the center of every business is my philosophy. I don't care what you sell. I don't care what you make. If you have someone out there on the street or on the phone with your clients, that person is your business. They are your business. They're representing you. So that's my philosophy that I've really cultivated and really started the mindset for CultureShift HR. And I think for me, when I was going through that self-discovery journey, it was something I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I'd be brave enough. If I was going to fall on my face and it be a horrible mess. And coming out of that, it was a no-brainer that this is what I needed to do. That like I needed to now, if I did all this work on myself to be confident and to know who I am, now it's time to put the pedal to the metal and actually do the things you want to do. So I started it in 2018. And at that point, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure it out. And it took a lot of time to
Know the feeling.
just, no, yeah, you just gotta play with it. Like there is no right or wrong answer. I think when you're building a business, there's like fundamentals and like, good to do's. But at the end of the day, you need to grow and move where your business is going. You need to have those learning lessons to be like, okay, well, I know not to do that, or wait, I'm going to double down on this. And then I think too, as I was discovering what I really wanted CultureShift HR to be, I was also still in my own growing and learning element as well. So I was like building my business while I was building myself, and it just formed into this beautiful thing that I'm so grateful to now have, and that I'm working with incredible clients and businesses that are aligned with the values and purpose of CultureShift HR, that are truly doing the incredible work around diversity, equity, and inclusion, and are moving the needle in incredible ways. So it's so beautiful, the end result, but the journey to get there was a lot, and painful at times, but I have a saying right on my wall: mountains do not rise without earthquakes. And I've been through a couple earthquakes.
We've all been through the earthquakes, and I feel like that's a really great quote. So where do you guys sit now with CultureShift HR? Like, what's sort of like the mission and the plan of how you work with clients?
Yeah, for me, I'm really wanting clients to see the power of inclusion within their businesses, and more than just that. Okay, there's lots of data about how increasing equity and inclusion and diversity is better for your innovation, better for your bottom line, better for your company culture. I mean, the number of the data is there, but for me, it's going deeper, like understanding the fundamental elements of being able to transform your own business through the infusion of diversity and equity and inclusion in a way that is more than just checking off a tick box, but it's understanding that this is just the right way to do business. This is just the right way to build a company and a culture. And that by not understanding and putting blinders on to the different elements of racial injustice that's happening in our social atmospheres, and not thinking that doesn't influence your business and doesn't influence your clients, it doesn't influence your bottom line, you are missing out on a massive story, that where your people and your employees and the clients that you serve realize that there is a dramatic difference from when you are quote unquote woke and aware of what's going on, and you're able to be empathetic and relate and try to truly understand to make the change, versus just going through an action. So for me, culture shift is really about doing the hard work, breaking up that hard soil to plant a beautiful seed that will grow over time. And for me, and what I really love when I speak with my clients is that they're very excited about D&I, and I love the energy and I love the enthusiasm. But the first thing I tell them is that you can't boil an ocean. You want to do all these things, you want to do this and that, and it's like, that's great, but like, let's start with what we can do and what we can make an impact on and what we can actually deliver. Because it's one thing to want to have the good intention to get something done. It's another thing when you don't meet that intention, and you are not only letting down the people who are affected by that program or that initiative, but the people who have put the time and effort into making that come to life. So you're not just dealing with numbers on a spreadsheet, you're dealing with people's lives, you're dealing with their mental, emotional, and physical well-being when you're dealing with D&I. And so understanding that and taking that seriously with the right resources and intentionality is so key. And so that's a key message that I continually drive with my clients.
Awesome. It's so necessary. I think so many folks are just like, I don't even know what to do. It's like, I'm supposed to build a culture. What? I'm trying to sell a widget. And you're like, no, you have to build a culture that people want to stay a part of, because retention is key.
So key.
So along the way, I'm sure that this was building your own business, walking in your real purpose. I'm sure you bumped into some challenges along the way.
Yes.
So I would love for you to share a time where you're like, okay, I'm doing this business. Holy mother.
Yeah.
I don't know how we'll get through this. It's a crazy challenge that's not in front of me. And then you did.
Yeah. I think for me, it was when I kind of put a pause just on my own capacity. There was a lot going on on the personal side of my life and just work in general. And I kind of took a pause on new kind of client pipeline building. And so with that, I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but I intentionally stagnated the growth of of CultureShift for about 6 to 7 months, because I was just not at a state of being able to put the time and the mental energy to continue to build it the way that I had intended to. And at the time, again, trying to be superwoman, I'm like, I'm going to build this business myself. So it was just me, myself, and I making the calls, sending the emails, doing all the meetings. And I realized that I was burning myself out very, very quickly. And through that, my growth stunted and I was frustrated. I felt like I was just hitting a wall. And I was like, this is not what I intended this to be. And this was, early on within the first few months of building CultureShift. And I had my one client at the time, and things were really tough. It was just really busy. I felt like I wasn't delivering this level of service that I wanted to deliver. And I just felt like, maybe it's time to reevaluate. Is this really what I wanted it to be? Is this where I should be going? Like, I think every entrepreneur has those doubts and questions that every single day. And what's funny is what actually pulled me out of that negative headspace is my why statement. And I'm a massive believer in the why statement, a 7-layer why statement, where you ask yourself why 7 times until the last time you ask yourself why, it is so deeply rooted in the core of who you are that it just brings back everything of why you started this initiative in the first place. And so I looked at my why statement, and literally I was just so emotionally overcome with the thoughtfulness and how the change I wanted to make with CultureShift HR, that I was like, you know what? I got to push through. Like, this is so much bigger than me, and it can be so much bigger than me. And I took that energy. I got the help that I needed to help support the growth for CultureShift. By bringing on some contractors, I was able to really focus on where I wanted to build the business. And that kind of got me over the hump that I was kind of facing. So it's you really, and that's where that confidence came in. Like, if I didn't do that journey, Laura, myself, to be like, okay, like, who is Alysha M. Campbell? Like, what is your purpose here? I would have crashed and burned a long time ago. But it was because I did that work that when I reached that point when I was building CultureShift, that it like was my rock to be like, if you can do that, you can do this. And so I'm so grateful that, we were able to get to that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true. It is that like, you find that a kind of another level, a deeper strength to be like, look, if I got this far, yep. I can do it. I can totally do this. Awesome.
We're so excited to have Soho Works as the sponsor for the 29 Days of Magic campaign. They're designed by Soho House, and their workspaces to help creative thinkers, businesses small and large, connect, collaborate, and grow. And it's where I'm recording all the episodes of 29 Days of Magic. It's a safe, wonderful and collaborative experience. I'm currently in the Brooklyn location, but they have locations, one else in New York City, in the Meatpacking District, one in LA, 5 in the UK, and they give you that kind of home away from home feeling with all the tools, technology, equipment to help you do your best work. Like I said, it's an amazing location, feels safe. I've been able to meet some really awesome people, which you haven't been able to do a lot because of the fact of COVID. So it's been a wonderful experience being able to record here and help build community. So if you want to find out more information about it, please go to sohoworks.com to get more information and tell them I sent you. And now back to the show.
So, looking back on, what you've achieved and where you are now, what do you think you'd probably tell 25-year-old Alysha?
Ooh, goodness. What would I tell her? Oh, okay. That's easier. I was like, what would I tell her? I would be like, I would say like, don't let anybody tell you who you are. Like, don't let anyone put their own impressions of who they think you can and can't be, and don't own that. That is not for you. What you tune into yourself, take the time to discover who you want to be and where you want to go. And that's the voice that you listen to. And I realized that I was at a very young age, I was very influential to a lot of my mentors and people that I looked up to, that whatever they would say was my gospel. And so I took their own insecurities that they projected onto myself, and I carried that, thinking that that was a problem I needed to solve. And as I've matured and especially going through my own growth journey and building CultureShift, that there was a lot of unpacking and unthinking and unburdening that I needed to do, that literally that wasn't mine to carry and to solve. So, don't take that on. Focus on who you want to be and don't take your eyes off the prize.
Awesome. I love that. It's like, one of the things I think we oftentimes forget when we're building these mini empires of ourselves is how do we take care of ourselves? Because, we're working. And then we're like, oh crap, what's going on? So, especially in the past year when it's been bananas, because
bananas.
What are you doing for your self-care?
Self-care, yeah. Self-care has definitely been a priority, especially given COVID and just even being a business owner, because literally you can work 24/7. That's just a given. There's always something to do. And for me, I'm really been trying to focus on one, being present. So if I'm in a conversation with someone, if I'm spending time with my family, it's being focused on the conversation, not, I'm listening, but I'm really on my phone, or I'm listening, but I'm, thinking about 10 other thousand things, but just really being present in the moment. And that's taught me to really appreciate, being like my environment. It's taught me to appreciate my current circumstances and to not give it the time and space that it deserves. So I would say being present. And number two is really being taking care of my physical and mental health. So I've been eating properly, meaning that, trying to eat more veggies and fruits and, being more active, even if it's just for 15 minutes, just being able to get my blood flowing and getting myself in the right mental space has been just so important. And of course, prayer. I would be nothing without the power of God and just the blessing that he has brought into my life and to my family. And so prayer and just finding that time to talk with him and connect with him has been everything to me. So definitely, especially in the past year to 18 months and with everything that we've been going through, that has been my solid solstice for the time.
So important and so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. So, CultureShift HR sounds awesome. What is next for you now that we're in a brand new year? We're hopefully in a brand new world because we got the orange devil. Yes. So, what's next for you guys?
Yes, I'm so excited about this year, Laura. It is going to be an incredible year. I would say we're still in stealth growth mode. We're going to be continuing to partner really closely with our current clients and activate and start new partnerships with new clients. I want to start to create online platforms and help build and excel the ones that I'm already a part of, and really just to help create an online resource and community where, other HR professionals, other small business or entrepreneurs are able to come and really get great insight, great knowledge, and to just share their experiences. I think that's something that's really needed today. And so I'm excited to see where we end up, 12 months from now and the story that we'll have from 2021.
Awesome. And, it's interesting because we had all this oh my gosh, we have to be more inclusive, isn't this? And we had this sort of moment over the summer. And I remember saying to folks, I was like, wait, because I don't believe for a second this is going to last. I'm like, let's see what happens after Labor Day. And sure enough, after Labor Day, stuff started going down. Then the election happened and everything just sort of stopped. And then we had January 6th. And it was what I like to call the white privilege parade. Because if you had never seen or you claimed you didn't understand or could articulate what white privilege looked like, after January 6th, you got it live and living color for about 5 or 6 hours of what it looks like. And so for organizations, it's like, this is what we've been trying to tell you, that you can walk into a building and destroy it and then get helped down the stairs by the cops. And so when we try to explain to you that this, even though that's not you benefit from that. I think it was basically live and living color in their faces. So where do you think we're going to be headed for that? Because I think now companies are going to be like, oh, well, I guess we can't hide anymore.
Yeah, I ask myself that question, I think every day, because it's like, how do I help to continue the conversation? And that's the thing. I can't control people. I can't, tell them what to do, tell them what to think, but I can, through my own actions and just through my own channels and mediums, I can help to influence and I can help to open people to a new understanding and to, well, I mean, it's not really a new understanding, but new to them. And really just get them to start to see the inconsistencies and the inequities that Black Americans have faced. And it's so, it's a very bittersweet conversation. And the bitterness is that you would think that after time and time and time again of saying the same thing in different ways, or the same thing in the same way, that, you know, eventually people or other organizations would understand it and kind of meet you where you're at. And then when they don't, it can be a bit of a letdown. It can be like a moment. But then the sweetness is when the light bulb does go off, or where they do understand, or where they're like, you know what, I'm really starting to see and feel the impact. You know, I had a conversation maybe with my son or daughter, or had a conversation with someone at work, and, you know, I am starting to get it now. That's the sweet part for me. Like when I think about culture shift, that's the conversations I can have 24 hours a day. And that what keeps motivates me to continue to push, you know, the values and the work that we're doing. Because if I can get more people and have more conversations and foster a community and roadmap for that, then I know that I've done my job. So that's what keeps me burning. That's what keeps me moving forward. And I hope that other organizations that are like, okay, well, what do we do? How do we take the next actions? Is, well, first and foremost, get someone who knows what they're doing, because it's important that you not just go on your own learning journey, but that if you're going to take your company through a transformation of diversity, equity, inclusion, that you start off with someone who knows the right steps to do it, can help support you, and can really get you to where you need to be if that is the change that you want to make.
And, you know, I couldn't have said that myself. Awesome. And then last question for you. Do you have a give and or ask of the audience?
Oh, well, I would say an ask of the audience is, if you are looking for a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant or an HR partner, please do check out CultureShift HR at cultureshifthr.com. Reach out to me, connect with me, love to talk and carry on the conversation. And a give is to just give kindness. There's a lot still going on in the world. There's a lot of hurt that we have to try to heal, and that is not going to happen overnight. So just give your time, give your energy, give your positive health affirmations to the world, because we need it. We still desperately need it. So I encourage everybody to be kinder, to give as much love as you can, and to be positive.
Awesome. Alysha, you were just such a delight. It's so lovely talking to you, and just have a wonderful spirit. We'll put in the show notes how folks can reach out to you at cultureshifthr.com.
Awesome.
And thank you so much for being part of my 29 Days of Magic campaign. Just a delight. Thank you so very much.
And thank you, Laura. This is absolutely beautiful, and I am so excited and grateful for being a part of it.
Awesome. And that is our show.